Hey, housewives.
Hey, housewives.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to a new week. And it is so funny how when we knew this would happen. We knew that when we started to do episodes that were just us, that we would go like,
What's next?
yeah, what do you want to talk about? Now there is some planning in us, of course, and some, you know, like what's the right word? Like looking into the future and going,
Yes.
okay, the outline
Yeah.
of things. But we definitely feel sometimes it's easier than others.
Well, and I think we tend to pray, and I wish we could just turn our voice memos into an episode sometime
Yeah.
because we just, while we're doing life and mom life and traveling and, carpooling, whatever, we're just constantly messaging each other ideas and thoughts and things that come into our head that it's like, hey, we're dealing with this. Should we talk about it with our housewives? And this one, typically, we are, I don't know, we're usually on the same page.
This
Which is funny. I feel like we're on the same page. God did that too. Like we're on the same page, same topic, not same
perspective.
perspective. There you go.
Yeah. So we're on the flip side of this one. So here, for all of those that love controversy, here you go. This one's for you.
It's not
It's
controversial.
not at all. And
It's
I say that.
not. It's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Our perspectives are so unique. Like it is the same thing. So
Mhm.
yesterday was just a day for me, and I was having this thought, and I went on a walk. It was 60 degrees. It was gorgeous. And I was listening to a podcast and then just kind of got into my own thoughts. And being 44 and having gone off social media now for like 7 months, friendships have just changed. They just keep ebb and flow. Like they do just change. And that's part of, having some of my best friends not live here. So there's
Right.
lots of conversations over the phone. And then there's, FaceTimes and, Marco Polo. And there's different ways to navigate friendships. And obviously there's local ones too. And it was so funny. Tori had just had like a great day with a friend, and calls or she messages in the voice messaging and was like, hey, I really think we need to do an episode about iron sharpening iron. And I was like, yeah, but how do you find the iron?
Yeah.
Like, how do you find obviously I'm speaking into this because I know there's a lot of people who struggle with friendship, and I'm very social, have lots of friends, yet still struggle with friendship. So it became a conversation of, what each of us have a different perspective about it, and how do we tap into this?
Yes, and I think it's very different, based on our personalities also, because you being an Enneagram 2, like, you're always the one checking on others of,
Mhm.
"Hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything?" Like, you're following up on things that people say, "Hey, can you pray for this?" Like, you're the person that reaches back out 5 days later and be like, "Hey, you had asked me to pray for this. I did. What came of it?" And not everybody does that.
Validated. Thank you.
Yes.
I feel seen.
Yes, you are. You're very seen. And that is something that in return, you don't get a whole lot of unless there's a 2 in your life,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
For Enneagrams. But there's other ways I think that you have friends who see you, but it's just not what you do. I mean, right?
It's kind of like the love languages.
I was just about to say
Yeah.
that. It's like you receive love differently.
Yeah.
Like mine is I need Andrew to tell me I'm pretty and, like I need affirmations. I need tell like use your words
Yeah.
as I tell my children.
Not just your action.
Not just your
After
action
8
like
PM.
yeah, exactly. All of a sudden you're clawing at me. No, 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 no. I need to tell me I'm pretty first. And
Yeah.
then this is but I also like at the same time it's like no, getting the dishwashers and unloading the dishes, that is not a tell me I'm pretty moment for me. Like, no, that's just thanks. You did what I was gonna do. I appreciate
Still
it.
do the dishes, Andrew.
Yeah, don't worry about doing the dishes. Just tell me I'm pretty instead. Let's make it easier. But, uh,
Tangent, off topic. Here we go.
yes, off topic. But so I went back to thinking about this because again, when it was funny because she was just like, "Yeah, I'm not in the same place as you are on the Iron Shepherd's iron part."
Okay, time out. I am. The point that I was trying to make yesterday, though, is for people who don't have the iron. How do they go out and find that person that matches them, that's going to make them better, who is going to encourage them to be more Christ-like, who is going to challenge them, who is going to grow them, And not only that, it's the space of like getting to the level like we are when I'm like, let's sit down and have a talk for a second because I'm feeling this way. And this is what I'm getting from you. Is this what the message you're trying to send me? Or let me question you on that, like, because you have to have somebody in your life that sees something differently than you,
Yes.
but presents it to you with love and encouragement to like just be better.
Right.
And so the reason I was saying that is it's okay to have those uh, relationships distant, obviously, over FaceTime, living far away. We all have that, because, well, at least we do from moving
Yes,
multiple
we
times.
do. Yeah.
But what about the people like you are doing the daily life with people? You have people that you're spending more time with that are in the thick of it with your kids, but are they helping you through it, bringing you through it, praying over you, or are they just stuck in the muck and you keep going back to them and you're like, I keep going back to the same people and feeling stuck too.
So I remembered part of Cheating Death
Mhm.
in Ken Valentine's book. And I remember him specifically talking about friends because he obviously with him moving a lot for the presidential detail and stuff, like it, how do you make friends? That's a problem we've always come across. But I love the way that he presented it because he said that there's two separate groups of friends, friends of the road and friends of the heart. Friends of the road are with you as you walk the road of life, but their presence is temporary. They may be with you for a few years or for a certain stage of life, like high school, college, a job, or a particular place where you live. They may be friends who travel with us for a time, but the depth of friendship does not remain the same over time. They are still friends, maybe even good friends, just friends of the road. And then on the flip side, there's friends of the heart. They travel the road of life with you regardless of the road you travel, and they stay close over time. They may even help guide you to and from certain roads in life. They are friends you seek and cherish and who will not go away. These are the friends in life who your family knows, who they've been around, and they will continue to be around because they are friends of the heart. So I think part of the challenge is knowing who the friends of the road are and who the friends of
Yeah.
the heart is,
Yeah.
right? Because friends have two different categories. Like, yes, there's the types of friends are in two different categories, but I believe that they also have two different roles: support and then challenge. And again, this is like, I'm taking this directly from Cheating Death. So if you haven't read the book, you need to definitely check it out.
Mhm.
But he talks about like support is finding the people who are habitually positive, share your optimistic hopes, and who are willing to share in the humility of supporting one another. And, but on the flip side, finding friends that will challenge you is a lot harder
Mhm.
because challenge tends to comes from friends of the heart because the Bible says wounds from a friend can be trusted. That's Proverbs 27:6. And the verse is pointing out that not all your friends will necessarily tell you the truth, but a true friend will.
Mm.
Good
Love
friends will
that.
tell you the truth, even if it is not what you want to hear.
Mhm.
So, yes, getting somebody to support you and check on you might be easier. But finding the friend who's going to stop you and go, "Hey, have you thought about this?" Or like in the middle of that. But so let me ask you this. Do you feel like you have the friends that challenge you right now,
Yes.
but you feel like you're lacking in the support area?
Mm, probably. And I don't even know in the support, like, this isn't what's lacking as much as maybe grieving what used to be and what's not anymore in the growing older phase.
Maybe, yeah, I can absolutely see
You
that.
know, like, it's just that, like, being an adult, you're now hanging out with your adult children more,
Yes.
not adult, but, teenagers, and you're around your family more, which is great. I mean, I love that. But the intentionality of the season of life that we're living is much different than when our kids were little. And we used to be so much more intentional with friendships, or I used to be so much more intentional with friendships when my kids were younger. Obviously, the forced play dates, and then you were being encouraged and challenged while you're like together. And then in that season, those friendships developed to where then when your kids were a little bit older, you could leave them with a babysitter or husbands, whatever, and you had girlfriend time.
Yeah, I can see that. And like you said, I think too, part of that is circumstance,
Mhm.
right? Because the forced playtimes,
Mhm.
when our kids are young enough to where we don't care if they actually like each other, right? Remember those play dates?
Yeah.
You're like, "Hey, we're gonna go over to so and so, or we're gonna meet up with so." Oh man, like, nope, I don't care. I like their mom, and we get to talk and chat, and that's great. And so you're getting to wear the kids out at that point, but then but it didn't matter what the kids were like. Again, we had control over the children and their schedule and whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was the season of where it's friendships are a happy coincidence because of, or a happy side effect, if you will, because your kids in the same class, on the same team, in the same activity group, whatever. And so you just keep seeing the same parents and you become friends of the road, right? Of that kind of
Mhm.
season of life. And then now you're in a life season where your kids cannot literally go off and do their own thing. They don't need you to accompany them. So there's less parent presence. Does that, where like, not necessarily like, and then there's just more for you, busier. You're just busier now. I mean, Parker's going to go, I'm sorry, I should have done trigger warning. Parker's going to go off to college.
Trust me, I'm well aware.
Yes. But like parents are now like, I mean, the other day I was talking to mom. She goes, "Yeah, we have 3 college visits this month." I'm like, "Holy crap. Is it that season already?" Like for her son. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Like I, I can't even, I don't even know what that looks like, but it's different. Yeah. Hmm, I don't know.
Well, I
What do
think
you,
I think too that, like, it's it's the different seasons of life. Like, you and I were talking about this before. We have intentional time together. We do a podcast together. We plan together. We are checking in like, "Hey, when are we getting together next week?" Like, we have, like, a forced accountability to be together, and in that, we are sharing our lives together anyway because we're
yes.
like, "I got this today with my kids," or, "My kids are sick. How can I help you? What can I bring you? Like, what can we do?" Like, we're in it together. But in the seasons that we aren't, so, like, when we take the summer off, we maybe see each other 2 or 3 times.
Which is crazy.
It really is, but it's our ages of our kids,
Yep.
and the interest in which we're separately in. Well, obviously, we're a sports family, but we're also, like, love to go to sports and love to go to games and do different things, and we just have different interests, so we're not in the same season together in that way. And so that's the ebb and flow of friendship, kind of what we were talking about in the beginning.
Mhm.
But we also were referencing this our phones, if you can't see me, if
Yeah.
you're not watching the video. The phones have created such a almost a false identity in relationships, that
A false security.
false security, thank you, in our relationships, that have caused us to think that we have more people in our lives than what we really do. And part of that is social media. So a lot of this in my, like, processing, and I hope that for the unlikely housewives that are listening, while some of you may be on social media, some of you may not. So hopefully those that are off can maybe relate a little bit better. But since I've been off, those just social friendships are gone, which there's a lot of peace in that too, because then there's more space in my own heart and my own mind for my family, my immediate close friends,
Mhm.
and the people that I care about.
Right.
So it's taken that away. However, it's also created that false security that those people would be there. And you're like, but how does that even make sense? Right? Like,
Well, and two, the other thing is how many times do we start talking to someone assuming that they know exactly what's going on in our life when we haven't seen them, caught up with them, but we're like, "Oh, you didn't see it all over social?" Like, like we falsely assume that people are in the details of our life. Yeah, like there are people that are like, "Oh, you went to DC for an entire week?" Like, "Yeah, it was great." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, that must have been," I'm like,
yeah,
"You're."
conversations are so much different and they're more quality for me now
Yeah,
because I'm asking the questions and engaging with people and they're asking the same for me.
right, because they
For
don't see it. They don't
Mhm.
automatically assume they know what you're doing or what's going on, or, and two, and I think the so I changed my name on social media. This was a fun one on my personal page because you have to remember that I've had social media. I've had Facebook since it was just a college thing, like, which is crazy to
Wait,
think about.
when did it come out? What year was that?
2005,
Okay.
2005.
'Cause I don't think
And
I got it till 2009,
yeah.
maybe?
So it was at first, it was only if you had a .edu
Right,
email.
right.
And so it was just for colleges.
Yeah.
And at the time I was at a community college, so which they didn't give us email addresses for the call. And so like we didn't get it. And then it opened up, I think, like in 2006 or 2000. Yeah, it had to have been 2006, I think. But so I mean, I've grown. My whole adult life is on social media. All that to say is that I changed my name on social media because there's just things that, I mean, as a business owner and then, me dipping my toes into politics, like I was just like, maybe my Facebook that I've had since I was a freshman in college doesn't need to be as easily accessible as everything. So I changed it. And the amount of people who messaged me are like, "Hey, I noticed your name change. What's up with that? Like, would you like?" And I was like, "I, well, we're nothing. Like, I was just changing. Like, I mean, is everything okay? Like, are you okay? Like, why'd you change your name? Like,
Well, that's like anybody who, is going through a divorce or, before they announce that they're going through a divorce, like the pictures change and then like the
yes,
profile changes and sometimes the name changes. And then, yeah, I've had messages and it's like, hey, so a mutual friend of ours, it looks like something's going on. And tell me what's going on. It's like a freaking investigation
it is."
site.
And but it was so funny because I had to figure out. I'm like, what do I tell? Like, no, I just changed my name because I didn't need Tori Shirah out there as easy to find. And so I changed the name. And so, yep, Andrew and I are just good. We're fantastic. Not getting a divorce here or, nothing. I'm not going into witness protection. Like, I, I don't know, but the subtle changes that people notice, but like you
Mhm.
said, too, pictures,
Yeah.
like your kids are, even when you were still on social media, the amount of pictures of your kids significantly dropped
Hmm.
because they started to care,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
so, again, all this to say is that social media gives us this false sense of, well, all these people should know what's going, like, I have all these
Well, it became
friends,
honestly,
quote unquote.
so I think that's probably part of like my processing in all of this is because I've lived in multiple places, home, Chicago, here, and then I traveled for my job after college. And so it's just kind of all over the place. I like it was such a gift to connect with everybody and just to put it out there. So if anybody wanted to know what's going on, they could. But it also caused people to not have to reach out to me
Oh,
because they
yeah.
could see it. So it's so interesting because when I went off social media, I messaged like probably 20 people, maybe 20. And it was college close friends, even some family members that are like close cousins that have always been really close. And I said, here's the deal. I'm going off for the summer. Little did I know I was going off for good. I said, I want to have weekly check-ins or whatever. A couple of the sorority sisters, we just voicemailed and I'm like, or voice memo, and I'm like, listen, I'm going off, but this doesn't mean that we're going to lose touch. Like, I love you guys and I know that's where your space is. And I had to be intentional with it because I wanted them to know that just because I wasn't going to be on there, because we would talk almost every day. I
Right.
could engage in probably 50 conversations a day with random people, connected through fun, social,
Yeah.
influencer, whatever. Like, I could just be in multiple conversations. And so while that was fun and it was, good to connect with people, when all that went away, even the relationships that were real stopped because they still have their 50 conversations and their 100 conversations that are still going on a day.
Right. Right.
So they don't need to reach out. So it's really been interesting. I mean, it's
Also out of sight, out of mind
right,
to a
right.
certain extent,
Yep.
right? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, my my best friend from childhood who I've known for 35 plus years is, like she doesn't know the day-to-day stuff that goes on, but she's on a I've got her and some others on a text message thread that, like I say, "Okay, hey, this is what I'm doing," and so they have an idea of what's going on of things, but like but if something goes down where I'm like, "Hey, I know who I'm gonna call and who's gonna have my back."
Yeah.
And it's gonna be her, even though I might have to tell her the backstory of the last, 18 months. Like, "Hey, so I didn't tell you this,
But
but here, and now
well,
I'm
and
here. Now what do I do?"
I just think that, in terms of like where this conversation started, iron sharpens iron, and we want to be that for other people and we want that for ourselves. So I think the conversation really just started with, well, what does that look like and how do we engage in that? And like, is it weekly? Is it biweekly? Monthly checking in. And, again, a lot of that can come from your church small group, your communities that you're involved in,
Mhm.
or community organizations that you're involved in. It really just can be like what we do, for each other. But we want to challenge you to ask yourself, like, do you have that?
And it might not
Look
can
the
I
same.
look the same, right? But I also would say is that the iron on both sides, it might not be equal.
Mhm.
You might not be sharpening somebody or getting yourself sharp like you think you would be getting yourself sharp. And I think that sometimes we're looking for like, oh, they've got to be on the same page as me or they've got to be in the same season of life as me. When sometimes that's not what God has for us at all. It's
Yeah.
where like I I have a friend and, she's asking hard questions about God and I'm like, I want to be part of those conversations with you. Like I want to be a part like ask me those questions. And
Mhm.
not because I know all the answers because no, I don't at all. And I may not even know any of the answers. But I'm like, I want to be that sounding board for you because if I don't know the answer, I want to help you find the answer and I want to help you, and knowing means it's partly selfish too because I know that finding the answer for her is only going to strengthen me and build my foundation and, God further. So, but I think too often we put gosh, how many times do we say this? We put God in a box
Mhm.
and say, okay, so I'll take the mom that has two kids. One is in fourth grade, one is in fifth grade. One, she's moved, she's spiritually mature, or, she's gone through some hard stuff with her marriage, but she knows where her footing is. Like she knows who she is. When God's like, no, 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 no. I'm going to give you somebody who's 65 who has her kids raised and out of, like, and all the things. And I'm going to give you that person and you guys are going to sharpen each other. And I'm like, wait, but I have not quote unquote, nothing in common with that person.
Right.
When God is going, oh, but you have everything
Mhm.
and in common with this person. And I'm just going to show you how. So I think that's hard for us to grasp because it, what I a friend of mine, I mean, who like, I have more friends, well, yeah, I would say, like, women who I would consider are sharpening me, that are, I mean, retired and
Mhm.
have kids, and grandkids, and they're in living that stage of life, and I'm like, "Oh, wow." But I'm like, "Hey, wanna we're in the same things of like, hey, we're both supporters of a nonprofit, and hey, let's travel together to go." And so I'm going to places with people,
Yeah,
you just
that's
wouldn't
very interesting.
it wouldn't
Really is.
see us together as in like, oh, they're friends. Like one of my friends, in fact, who's on my bail money thread, has twins that are a year younger than me. And
Mm.
it, and her and I, like, I call her and I'm like,
Yeah.
and she doesn't see me as a daughter. She sees me as a friend. Like,
Yeah.
that's, and I call her out on stuff. She calls me out on
Okay,
stuff.
so I'm gathering that I need to find some older women in my life because I'm always the old one.
Yes, actually,
That
that's
is actually true.
that's, I've been
I've
meaning.
actually always said that. I'm like, where are the like, I don't know.
Do you want to call them old ladies? Because
I
they don't
don't
want to be
want to
called the
say
old ladies.
no, I
Yes,
don't want
I
to be
know.
called the old lady either, but
But isn't that funny?
the
Because, like,
wiser ones. There we go.
yeah, but isn't that funny too? Because I was in a car last Saturday night going to a group, and I was again the youngest one
Mhm.
in the car, and I'm like, how funny is it? Like, I've always trended to, which you wouldn't think, because I'm not, like, think people think I'm a leader, but like I'm always the one that's the youngest, and always
Mhm.
like I just always trend towards finding the older people, and
It's funny.
that is funny.
Mhm.
But I don't, so where do you think that where are you going to look for them?
The older, wiser women
Yeah. Yeah, where are you going to meet your old fun friend?
at a bar. That would be so fun. I'm kidding.
Yes. That's the time. Also, mind
I
you,
should say church.
she's holding her Golden Girls coffee mug
Yes,
that
it's my favorite
it
mug.
says
I love the
squad
Golden
goals.
Girls.
Yes.
Really, this is who we should be talking about, the Golden Girls.
Yeah, but weren't they all like 50, and we look at them now and we're like, "Oh my god, that's not what I want to look like at 50."
Right.
Please, for the love, I don't want to look like that.
That is true, that is true.
Yes. Yeah. What are some avenues that you think that I don't know, like, where is God stretching you? Like,
And that I mean, that could be it. God stretching me in that space of finding older women who don't live on social media.
yeah.
Finding other people who don't live on social media, which I think is so rare.
And no, I would say that most older people don't live on social media.
Yeah.
So that is kind of your perfect demographic
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So since you can't find them in a group meet or like a Facebook event, they're not there. She's going to have to look at the newspaper classifieds. Please join
Obviously, I
all.
can look at our church too. It's just interesting of the season that I'm in and the capacity of seeking that out, right? Like I just, and honestly, I've been praying about it, writing in my journal, just for the Lord to like bring more people who would guide me and meet me in the season that I'm in with having teenagers, kids who are almost going to college, and in the same season because everybody younger than me is not there, or in our group.
But you don't want somebody in the same season. Maybe God's
No,
telling
I said ahead of me in
ahead of
that
that season.
season.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, and I'll tell, okay. So, one of the ways that I have befriended older women, like, I feel like I'm doing them a favor. I'm not doing them a favor.
You're
I
keeping them young.
I am. I stress them out. They're like, oh my gosh. Was the nonprofit, the White Rose, like being
Mhm.
actively involved in that is how I've met quite a few. Or Moms for Liberty is another one. The Eisenhower series
Mhm.
is another one. These are all women older than me, but
I would say that the biggest difficulty in seeking out other friendships or growing as you would like to say, like being too comfortable or, you know, God challenging me to grow or be in a different space is difficult because you don't go sharing things that go on in your family that are personal to your kids to somebody that maybe hasn't walked through the same thing.
And that's absolutely fair. And I think we're a lot of because we are in a world full of information, we assume that it's all out there,
Yeah. Oh, that's for sure.
right?
I lived that even though I was a very real person and an authentic person on social media, the realness was still hidden because nobody wants to be 100% transparent. Even on here, I don't want to be 100% transparent.
Yes. Well, because we I mean, anybody who shares no one is 100% transparent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's eh, nor do I think anyone could legitimately, authentically be 100% transparent because we all inherently have those thoughts of what will people think
Mhm.
or like the self-preservation, right?
Mhm.
Survival mode. Like there are things that you're just like, I'm not touching that. I don't want that. That doesn't need to be out there. And we forget that
Yeah.
because I think we think that everybody's sharing everything. And then you think that you're alone.
Well, that's definitely I mean, that's our motto, "You're not alone," but, oh, boy, do you feel alone in the majority of what you go through in hardships that are private.
Right. And so I don't know, where do you find your encouragement in that then?
I don't understand the question.
That's fair. Like having things that you don't share with people, like what is it what does it look like for you then to have somebody that supports you? Because if it's I mean, again, you're not gonna like go sit on a bus stop and, meet somebody and just
Right.
have verbal diarrhea and just tell them your life story and all the things and, I'm like, "All right, never gonna see you again." It's right. Um, but like where do you get to offload that or like do you get to offload that when you find
Oh.
somebody or you have that support person?
Yeah, that's therapy, if that's what you're asking. That's your offloading. That's your
Okay.
safe place, like, to process it and work through it, yeah. I mean, there are friends who know what's going on, I'm not saying there's not. Like, there are friends that know what's going on, it's just it just becomes harder to navigate as your children grow into more mature individuals and into their adulthood. You protect more. You don't protect as much when your kids are younger about what they're going through.
Oh, yes, I can see
You
that.
share more. I mean, you
Yeah.
see it on social media. You share the tantrums. You share when your kids are, like, crying over, you know,
Or the bathtub
whatever.
fights or the
Yeah,
whatever.
like, you
Yeah, like
share that stuff because it's more relatable. Now, not that this other stuff isn't relatable, but it's not your place to share as a parent.
as a parent,
Mhm.
as a parent.
Yeah.
Well, I think that honestly, as much as I feel like you probably feel like you didn't share anything,
That
um,
really went weird from friendship to whatever.
no, but I think that's important to know, like, that because that is a part of friendship.
Yeah.
Like, for us, like, we share a heck of a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and I think there are certain arenas where I'm good at supporting you
Mhm.
and good at challenging you, but I also think there are certain arenas where, like, I don't have a place that's not my lane,
Yeah. Well,
right?
I think a lot of friendships have that too, and especially in marriages, because your marriages look different, the way you parent are different, even in
Yeah,
friendship groups, the way you parent are different. And your family dynamics, like what you do together as a family is different. So I think the moral of it was really just where you're coming from, the sharpening each other and encouraging each other is essentially what we're attempting to do here for you.
Which we've done an
digging
excellent job.
But, like, letting the Holy Spirit dig into those spaces that we both struggle with, and I think it's something that why I gave you the perspective yesterday was that, you know, I had the people that I processed it with, but I think in reality, as I sit there, I think about other people who are like me, who are struggling and don't have the people to process it with.
Which yes.
That's why I was like, where does the iron come from?
Right. And I think this, believe it or not, I do think this episode is a good one because I know we always end up going, like, one of us thinks it's we're like, not my favorite. But this one, I do think this is because you are asking a legit question. Where does the iron come from? And I think the point I'm trying, or the perspective I'm trying to bring, is that it comes in the most unlikely of places.
That's a good tag right there.
Thank you. Mic drop on that. So,
on that note,
this is us. You guys know us. You know, we are going to be real in the midst of the things, and I'm Tori. She's Tracy. We give unsolicited advice,
whether it's right or wrong.
Right. But I think it's relatable.
Yeah.
This is real and relatable because there are going to be people from your perspective and my perspective. And then maybe, we have a listener who's right there smack dab in the middle and go, great, I have the challenge piece, but I need the support piece. Where are my cheerleaders? Or I have, the cheerleaders, but I need somebody to push me out of the nest from time to time. So but this is conversations, and let's go back to why we have this podcast, because we have conversations that nobody else is talking about.
Yep.
And this is not something that people talk about of, like, here we are 4 seasons in and we're still going, where do you find where do you find friends?
Yeah.
That's where we started.
Yep.
We started with that mentality of this podcast, and we're 4 years in or 4 seasons in and still asking that question.
And as in 4 seasons, we're talking podcast, but also phases of life.
Yes. Yes.
Because it just keeps changing.
Right. Right. And some are much longer and darker than others.
Yes. Amen.
But that's okay, because it does change. And in spite of all the changes, God is still God. God is still in control. He is still sovereign. He still has the beginning, middle, and end and future. Like, he is the Alpha and the Omega. So there is great peace in knowing that. And I don't know how I'm going to say this, but if you struggle with believing in that God is good, that he is the Alpha and the Omega, like how and why is this? I would encourage you to DM us on Unlikely, because I would love to have that conversation with you. Because if that's not something that you know, I would love to just answer any questions. I'm going to probably not know the answer, and but maybe I can direct you in a direction. But like, there's such an unrest if you don't know that he's the beginning and the middle and the end, like, and that who wins in all the things, like, but like, we go on day to day because we know who wins. We know that we're victorious in that. So if that's not something that you know and fully believe, then we would love to help you talk you about why we believe
questions.
that.
Yeah. Point you to some resources, obviously the Bible first.
Yes.
But also just a space to, like, safe space to have the conversation.
Right. And ask the question, because a lot of people think that you can't argue with God, or you can't be mad.
Trust me, you can.
Yes, you can.
You can ask why. It's okay.
And you can be mad at God. Like, he's there for it all, which
so gracious.
So good. So in that, I'm going to end it on that much lighter note of God is good. And until next time, housewives.
Bye.
Bye.